Hey guys, so we're gonna try this today. This is the first of hopefully several videos that we can do. I know it's not by any means perfect, but hey, we got to do what we got to do to keep moving forward. So, for those of you who are not sure, okay, I sent the link out on Remind as far as for what we plan to accomplish this week. Um, so hopefully you're able to access that and at least look at it and kind of have an idea. Today, what we're going to look at is we're going to start with Southwest Asia and North Africa. Okay, and before we get into that, I'll apologize in advance. Doing this from the house, you may hear some extra noise and stuff. I've got a couple of my kids running around, and then I've got a dog and a cat that are running around that like to chase each other and make some noise. So if you hear the extra noise and stuff, that's what's going on. But today we are going to start looking at, like I said, Southwest Asia and North Africa. Okay, and this area kind of goes by a couple of different names. You're going to see Southwest Asia without a doubt, and you're going to see North Africa. Okay, but many times, okay, you're going to see it going by a different name. Okay, and what we'll start using, what we'll use, okay, is going to be, not Middle Africa, okay, but the Middle East and North Africa. Okay, and it's going to be the same whichever way you see it written. Okay, whether it's Middle East and North Africa or North Africa and Southwest Asia, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, the thing with the Middle East and North Africa, what we're going to do a lot of the times is we're just going to abbreviate it and call it MENA, M-E-N-A, plain and simple. Okay, now we're doing this a little bit differently than what we have in the past. Okay, usually when we start a new lesson, a new unit, okay, we get our map out like what we've got in front of you here, and we'll label the countries and specific landmarks as far as geographical features, rivers, mountains, things like that. Hey, we're going to change it just a little bit this time and kind of approach it a little bit differently. Okay, because with this particular region, with MENA, okay, it has undergone a whole bunch of change just within the last 120 years. Okay, this look here that you see is present day. Okay, this area here, this is the north of Africa. This is the northern part of Africa. Okay, the continent. This here is still in Asia. Okay, but it didn't always used to look like this. Okay, so let's go back and to before World War One, and that's what we're going to start with today. So Africa, okay, as we know it, okay, the shape of Africa really stayed the same, but the outline of the borders of the countries was really different. Okay, and you can tell just looking at this map compared to looking here, it's very different. Okay, the shapes don't line, the countries don't line out with how it is present day. So let's look today and let's figure out why that is. Okay, now if you'll notice here on this map, okay, and I don't have all of Africa labeled here. We're not too worried about the southern part of Africa. We'll look at that later on down the line. Okay, our main focus is going to be up here in the northern part of Africa. But one thing you're going to notice is here on this map is I've got other countries written down here. Okay, France, Germany, Portugal, Italy. Okay, Egypt and Sudan are still countries in Africa today. France, Britain, okay, Belgium, Portugal, Germany, and then Portugal again. Okay, now, that does not mean that these countries that are located in Europe, okay, were here as well. All that means is these countries that were in Europe prior to World War One or before World War One owned owned this land down here. Okay, so it's a very different landscape, and we're going to see kind of how that will change going from before World War One to after World War One to after World War Two, and then to present day. And we're not going to get through quite all of that today, but this will get us started anyhow. Okay, so one thing we're going to look at is kind of how the social and political aspect affected these borders. Okay, how did politics play a role here? How did the way that people think and the way that people, you know, interact with each other, and specifically countries interact with each other, affect the shape of Africa as we know it today? Okay, so before World War One, okay, we know during the early 1900s, okay, World War One involved all of these countries that are here in Africa. Okay, without a doubt. France was involved, Germany, okay, Portugal, Italy, because all of those countries were in Europe where the majority of the fighting was at. Okay? And so you can imagine if these countries are fighting with each other, okay, there's going to be some tension between groups, especially if you're on opposing sides. Okay? So, for example, World War One, Germany was the bad guy essentially. Okay, you know, Italy wasn't always on the good side. They fought alongside Germany as well. Okay, and then Germany owns some property, some land down here as well. Okay? So let's take a look and let's see kind of how this would change and how it would go back and forth. Okay, and if you're able to pull up the link for the lesson plans, there's also another link in there that will take you to a website that kind of shows some different maps as far as from just over time and um, how things would progress based on the war. Okay, so if you can't pull that up, okay, here's what it looks like as far as in color. Okay, and you can see you've got, just like we had labeled here, okay, France owning part of West Africa there, okay, Germany, Portuguese over here, okay, Britain owning that over here, Britain owning piece of land here, Italy owning this over here, Belgium owning this part of the Congo right there, okay, French, okay, owning that land here. And if you'll notice right here, it says French Equatorial Africa. Okay, so what do you think that means when it says French Equatorial Africa? Well, what does equatorial sound like? Yeah, it sounds like the equator. So that's kind of telling you the relative location of where that country is at. Remember, relative location is about where somewhere is. Okay, it's over there. It's next to here. Okay, if we talk about specific location here, we're talking about what type of location? Okay, yeah, absolute, because that's using latitude and longitude to specifically find a place on the map. Okay, so just a little refresher there. Okay, so we've got this here in all these countries. Okay, so World War I happens. Okay, and countries would lose their independence. They would lose, control over areas that they had, okay, based on results of the war. Okay, so when we fast forward to kind of almost essentially during World War One, okay, and we look at it here. Okay, so this is from 1914 to 1918. Okay, and there's kind of an outline of Europe. Europe stayed essentially the same shape that it was. Okay, but then it also shows you here kind of the front part or the northern part, of Africa. Okay, and how everything kind of set up here. So, sorry guys, I'm having to scroll down here. Alright, so with, Russia beginning to go under communist control, they would start to kind of regain some areas within Africa, and so when we look at it here, all of a sudden, this is from 1918 to 1930. Now we have a little bit, it's starting to take place just a little bit here, Italian North Africa, all of a sudden that area is a little bit bigger now than what it was. You still have the French owning this large area down here in West Africa. Egypt is still essentially the shape that it is. Over here in the Middle East, where Saudi Arabia is at, Kuwait, Jordan, Yemen, Oman. Now all of a sudden you don't have that huge circle that was there before. Remember on our other map, we had this circle right here that was just kind of outlying. Or not necessarily outlying, but it was owned by another country. Well, just in a few short years, all of a sudden, this area is starting to slowly take shape over here. All right, so looking at it, so we're going to go from before World War I. And this is after World War I, which is what we kind of talked about just a while ago. And I didn't draw out everything down here in the southern part of Africa, because this is specifically the area that we're looking at here. But you can see the before and now the after. Already starting to take a little bit different shape, especially up here compared to this area over here being much larger now. The Middle East, as we said, is starting to take shape, starting to take effect. So let's get to see. So the big question is, well, why did that happen? Why all of a sudden do we have countries over here like France that own this large area? Well, or even, Italy, who has this small area, but now all of a sudden over here, they're gaining some ground. So as you're looking at this, think about, well, why do you think that was? Well, remember, during this time, World War I had just happened. So you have Italy that takes control here. Gains a little bit. This area here is known as Algeria. France still owns a large part of this down here. Sorry guys, I didn't realize I didn't have it on the map. Egypt is here. And then you have all the countries over here in the Middle East that are starting to take effect. Well, as these empires, as these major world powers would become defeated in World War I, well, their control begins to end. So the land that they possess, remember, land, was the more land that you owned as a country, the more land that you had control over as a country, the more powerful you were as a country. It goes back to those 3 G's. Gold, glory, and God. God with the religion, gold, obviously how much money you had, and then glory, the fame and the prestige of having all this territory and all this land everywhere. So you can see, just looking at before World War I And then going after World War One, already the landscape has changed dramatically up here, because you had countries that would be defeated in World War One. Okay, and so as they become defeated, as they are defeated, they, their territory and their grasp on control of certain places begins to loosen up a little bit. Okay, so tomorrow, if we can get everything going like we're supposed to as far as the video, we will look at it and we'll see kind of how it progresses after World War II and to present day Middle East and North Africa, or present day MENA. Okay. So guys, if you have any questions, feel free to holler at me on Remind. I know this was kind of short, sweet, and moving through it, but I'll have this posted there on the website. There in Google Classroom. That way you can see it and you can watch it as many times as you need to. If you have any questions, holler at me on Remind, guys. Talk to y'all later.